The bonfire crackled, its flames licking the night sky, but I couldn't tear my eyes from her. She stood across the festival square, her silhouette sharp against the kaleidoscope of lanterns, like a figure conjured from a dream I didn't know I'd had. By the time her gaze met mine, my heart was already hers and I was doomed. I'm Alara, a 28-year-old librarian from Willow Creek, a sleepy town in upstate New York where everyone knows your name and your secrets. That night, the annual Harvest Moon Festival had transformed our quiet streets into a vibrant chaos of music, laughter, and the scent of caramel apples. I'd come alone as I always did, content to watch the world spin without me. But then I saw her, Seraphine, the woman who'd moved into the old Hawthorne house on the edge of town just weeks ago. Whispers followed her like shadows. She's strange, keeps to herself, probably a witch. I didn't believe in witches, but the way her presence pulled at me felt like magic. She was 30, with jet black hair that fell in loose waves and eyes so dark they seemed to hold the night itself. Her violet cloak, embroidered with silver threads, shimmered faintly as she moved through the crowd, her steps deliberate, like she was dancing to a song no one else could hear. I stood frozen by the cider stand, my hands clutching a paper cup, watching her weave between revelers. She didn't belong here, not in Willow Creek, where conformity was currency. Yet she was magnetic, her every glance a spell I couldn't dodge. I told myself to stay put, to let the moment pass. I was Alara, predictable Alara, who shelved books and smiled politely at church potlucks. But when her eyes found mine across the square, sharp and searching, my feet moved before my brain could protest. The crowd parted, and there she was, close enough that I could smell the faint lavender on her skin. "You're staring," she said, her voice low, teasing with a hint of something dangerous. Her lips curved into a half-smile, and I felt the ground tilt beneath me. "Icery," I stammered, my cheeks burning. "I didn't mean to." "Didn't you?" She tilted her head, her gaze pinning me in place. "I'm Seraphine." "Alara," I managed, my voice barely a whisper. The festival's noise faded, the world narrowing to just us. I didn't know then that this moment would unravel everything I thought I knew about myself. We talked, or rather she talked, and I hung on to every word. She spoke of star charts and forgotten myths, her hands gesturing like she was weaving the air itself. I told her about my quiet life, the library, the way I'd always felt like I was waiting for something I couldn't name. She listened, really listened, her eyes never leaving mine. When she laughed, a soft, musical sound, it felt like a gift. The night deepened and we wandered away from the festival's heart, down a path lined with glowing jack-o'-lanterns. The air was crisp, heavy with the scent of pine and wood smoke. She stopped by a willow tree, its branches swaying in the breeze, and turned to me. "Do you ever feel like you're running out of time?" she asked, her voice suddenly serious. I frowned, caught off guard. "Time for what?" "To be who you really are." Her words hit like a stone dropped into still water, rippling through me. I wanted to ask what she meant, but her hand brushed mine just for a second and my thoughts scattered. Her touch was electric, forbidden, and I didn't pull away. We sat beneath the willow, the festival's hum a distant echo. She told me about her life before Willow Creek, cities I'd only read about, places where she'd learned to read the stars and mix herbs that could soothe or unsettle. I didn't know if I believed her, but I wanted to. I wanted to believe in something bigger than my small, safe world. "Do you think people can change?" I asked, my voice trembling. I wasn't sure if I was asking about her or myself. She leaned closer, her breath warm against my cheek. "Only if they're brave enough to try." The festival ended with fireworks, bursts of color painting the sky. We stood shoulder to shoulder, watching the sparks fade. I wanted to stay there forever, caught in that fragile, perfect moment. But when I turned to her, ready to say something, anything, she was already stepping back, her expression unreadable. "I'll see you again, Alara," she said, her voice a promise and a warning. Then she was gone, swallowed by the crowd, leaving me with a racing heart and a question I couldn't answer. What had just begun? The next morning, I woke with her name on my lips. I tried to shake it off, to bury myself in routine, shelving books, helping Mrs. Carter find her romance novels. But every quiet moment brought her back. Her voice, her touch, the way she'd looked at me like I was someone worth seeing. Willow Creek felt smaller than ever, its familiar streets suffocating. I needed to see her again, but the Hawthorne house was a fortress, its windows dark, its gate locked. Days passed and I started noticing things. A raven lingered outside my window each morning, its eyes too knowing. A book on astrology fell from a shelf, open to a page about soulmates. I laughed it off, but doubt crept in. Was Seraphine more than she seemed? And why did I feel like she'd already claimed a piece of me? By the time I saw her again at the town's autumn market, I was a mess of nerves and longing. She was buying apples, her cloak replaced by a simple black sweater, but she was still unmistakable. I approached, my heart pounding, and when she smiled, it was like the sun breaking through clouds. "You're braver than I thought," she said, handing me an apple. "Most people don't come back." "I don't know what I'm doing," I admitted, my voice raw. "But I can't stop thinking about you." Her smile faded, replaced by something softer, sadder. "Be careful, Alara. Some doors once opened don't close." I didn't understand, not then. But as we walked through the market, her hand brushing mine, I felt the world shift. I was falling and I didn't want to stop. The market bustled around us, but Seraphine was my only focus. Her laughter, light as wind chimes, cut through the chatter of vendors and the clink of coins. We wandered past stalls of handmade quilts and fresh cider, our shoulders brushing, each touch sending sparks through me. I was 28, a librarian who'd never left Willow Creek. Yet here I was, trailing a woman who felt like a storm wrapped in silk. "Tell me something real," she said suddenly, stopping by a stall selling crystal pendants. Her dark eyes searched mine and I felt exposed, like she could see every fear I'd ever buried. "Real?" I echoed, clutching the apple she'd given me. "I'm scared. All the time. Scared I'll wake up one day and realize I've missed my life." Her expression softened and she reached out, her fingers grazing my wrist. "You're not missing it now," she said, and I believed her. For the first time I felt alive, like I was exactly where I was meant to be. We spent the afternoon together, sharing stories over cups of spiced tea. She told me about her childhood, raised by a grandmother who taught her to read the stars and trust her instincts. I told her about my parents, kind but distant, and how I'd always felt like an outsider in my own life. With every word, the space between us shrank, until I could feel the warmth of her breath when she spoke. But there was something she wasn't saying. Her smiles were laced with shadows, and when I asked about her life before Willow Creek, her answers were vague, her eyes distant. "Some things are better left buried," she said once, and the weight of her words hung between us. That night, she invited me to her house. The Hawthorne place was a looming Victorian relic, its paint peeling, its windows like eyes watching the world. Inside it was warm, cluttered with books and candles, the air thick with the scent of sage and lavender. She poured wine and we sat by a crackling fire, the silence between us heavy with possibility. "Do you believe in fate?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't," I said, my heart racing. "But I'm starting to." She leaned closer, her hand resting on mine. The firelight danced in her eyes and I wanted to kiss her, to close the distance that felt both infinite and non-existent. But before I could move, she pulled back, her expression pained. "There's something USLOF system you need to tell me about," she said, her voice breaking. "Something I can't tell you." The weight of her words hit me like a punch. I wanted to press, to demand answers, but the vulnerability in her eyes stopped me. Instead, I squeezed her hand. "When you're ready, I'm here." The days that followed were a whirlwind. We met every evening, walking through the woods or sitting by her fire, sharing pieces of ourselves. I learned her favorite color was violet, that she loved old jazz records, that she cried at sad movies but would never admit it. She learned I could recite entire passages from Jane Austen, that I hated olives, that I dreamed of seeing the ocean someday. Each moment with her felt like a gift, but the unspoken hung between us, a shadow I couldn't ignore. One night, under a sky heavy with stars, she kissed me. It was soft at first, tentative, then desperate, like we were both starving for it. My world tilted, every doubt drowned by the taste of her, the warmth of her hands on my face. When we pulled apart, breathless, she whispered, "You're dangerous, Alara." "So are you," I said, and we laughed, but I saw the flicker of fear in her eyes. The rumors about her grew louder. At the library, I overheard whispers, "She's trouble. Stay away." I ignored them, but the signs were harder to dismiss. The raven still watched me. Books on magic kept appearing on my desk, open to pages about bindings and curses. I started dreaming of her, dreams where she stood in a circle of light, her hands raised, her voice chanting words I couldn't understand. I'd wake up gasping, my heart pounding, her name a prayer on my lips. I confronted her one evening, standing in her garden under a blood-red sunset. "What aren't you telling me?" I demanded, my voice shaking. "Are the rumors true? Are you something else?" She looked away, her hands twisting together. "Alara, I'm just me. But there are things I've done, things I can't undo. I came here to escape them." "Escape what?" I stepped closer, desperate for the truth. Her eyes met mine, raw and haunted. "A past that won't let me go." Her words hung in the air, heavy as the dusk settling around us. I wanted to push, to unravel her secrets, but the pain in her eyes stopped me. Instead, I took her hand and we stood there silent as the first stars appeared. I didn't know what she was running from, but I knew I'd follow her anywhere. The next week, Willow Creek buzzed with tension. The town's annual Harvest Moon Festival was approaching again, marking a year since I'd first seen Seraphine. I wanted to celebrate with her, to recreate that magical night, but she was distant, her smiles forced. She'd disappear for hours, returning with dirt on her hands and a faraway look in her eyes. I didn't ask where she went. I was too afraid of the answer. One night I found her in her garden, kneeling by a circle of stones, muttering words I couldn't catch. The air felt thick, charged, like a storm was coming. I stepped closer and she flinched, her hands hiding something in the dirt. "Alara, go," she said, her voice sharp. "No," I said, kneeling beside her. "I'm not leaving you." Her eyes filled with tears. "You don't know what you're asking." "Then tell me," I pleaded. "Trust me." She hesitated, then pulled a small vial from her pocket, filled with a dark, shimmering liquid. "This is who I am," she said. "Or who I was. I used to help people with things they couldn't explain. But it cost me. It always does." I stared at the vial, my mind racing. "You're saying you're a witch?" She laughed, a bitter sound. "That's what they call it here. Where I'm from, it was just survival. But I hurt people, Alara. Not on purpose, but it happened. That's why I came here to start over." My heart pounded, but I didn't pull away. "You're not that person anymore," I said. "I know you." "Do you?" Her voice was a whisper, raw with doubt. I kissed her then, fierce and sure, pouring everything I felt into it. She kissed me back, her hands clutching my shoulders like I was her anchor. When we parted, she was crying, but she didn't push me away. The festival came and we went together hand in hand. The town stared, their whispers a dull roar. I didn't care. She was radiant, her violet dress catching the lantern light, her laughter real for the first time in weeks. We danced under the stars, her body pressed against mine. And for a moment I believed we could outrun her past. But the past doesn't stay buried. That night, as we walked home, a figure stepped from the shadows, a woman, older, with eyes like Seraphine's but colder. "You thought you could hide," she said, her voice venomous. "You owe a debt, Seraphine." Seraphine stiffened, her hand tightening on mine. "Leave her out of this," she said, stepping in front of me. The woman laughed, her gaze raking over me. "She's already in it." Fear coiled in my gut, but I stood my ground. "Who are you?" I demanded. "Someone who knows what she is," the woman said. "And what she's done." Seraphine's face was pale, her eyes pleading. "Alara, go. Please." But I couldn't leave her. Not now, not ever. The woman raised a hand, and the air crackled, a sharp, unnatural hum. I grabbed Seraphine's arm, pulling her back. "We face this together," I said, my voice steady despite the fear clawing at me. The woman smirked, stepping closer. "Brave." "Foolish, but brave." Seraphine's hand shook in mine, but she nodded. "Together," she whispered. The night exploded into chaos. The woman's hands moved, and the ground trembled, roots twisting up from the earth. Seraphine countered, her own hands raised, words spilling from her lips in a language I didn't know. Light flared, blinding, and I shielded my eyes, my heart pounding as I realized this was real, her power, her past, all of it. When the light faded, the woman was gone, but Seraphine was on her knees, gasping, blood trickling from her nose. I dropped beside her, pulling her into my arms. "What was that?" I whispered. "My past," she said, her voice broken. "And it's not done with me." I held Seraphine as she trembled, her blood staining my sleeve. The festival's music was a distant hum, the world oblivious to the battle we'd just witnessed. I didn't understand what I'd seen, but I knew one thing. I loved her, and I wasn't letting go. We stumbled back to her house, locking the door behind us. She collapsed onto the couch, her face pale, her hands shaking as she wiped the blood from her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted you to see this." "See what?" I sat beside her, my voice gentle but firm. "Seraphine, I need the truth. All of it." She looked at me, her eyes raw with fear and guilt. "I was part of a coven," she said. "In New Orleans. We helped people love potions, protection charms, things to ease pain. But power comes at a price. I made a mistake, trusted the wrong person. Someone got hurt. Badly. I ran, but they found me." "Who was that woman?" I asked, my heart pounding. "Miranda. She was my mentor, my family once. Now she wants repayment for what I cost her." Seraphine's voice cracked. "I thought I could hide here, be someone new. But you can't outrun magic." I took her hand, my thumb tracing circles on her skin. "You're not alone anymore," I said. "Whatever this is, we'll face it." Her eyes searched mine, desperate for belief. "You don't know what you're saying. It's dangerous." "I don't care," I said, and I meant it. "I love you." The words hung between us, raw and true. She kissed me, soft and urgent, like she was trying to memorize me. "I love you too," she whispered, and my heart broke open. The next days were tense, the air thick with waiting. Seraphine taught me small things, how to sense energy, how to ground myself. I didn't have her power, but I had her trust, and that was enough. We prepared, gathering herbs, drawing symbols on her floors. She said they'd protect us, but her eyes were haunted, her sleep restless. Miranda returned on a moonless night, her presence like a storm cloud. She didn't come alone, 2 others flanked her, their eyes glinting with malice. They stood outside the house, their voices chanting, the air growing heavy. Seraphine faced them, her hands glowing faintly, but I saw the fear in her stance. "Stay inside," she told me, but I followed her out, my heart in my throat. "You can't protect her," Miranda said, her voice cold. "You owe me, Seraphine. Blood for blood." "Then take mine," Seraphine said, stepping forward. "Leave her out of it." I grabbed her arm. "No. We do this together." Miranda laughed, but her companions hesitated, their eyes flicking to me. I didn't know what I was doing, but I stood tall, my hand in Seraphine's. The air crackled and the ground shook again, but this time Seraphine was ready. Her voice rose strong and clear, her hands weaving light. I felt it, a warmth that pulsed through me, like she was drawing strength from my presence. The fight was chaos, light, shadow, and power I couldn't comprehend. Seraphine held her ground, but she was weakening, her breaths ragged. I stepped closer, my hand on her back, willing her to keep going. Miranda faltered, her companions retreating, and for a moment I thought we'd won. But magic is unpredictable. Miranda's final spell hit like a wave, knocking Seraphine to the ground. I screamed, dropping beside her, my hands on her face. She was breathing but barely, her skin cold. Miranda vanished into the night, her laughter echoing. I carried Seraphine inside, laying her on the couch. Her pulse was weak, her eyes fluttering. "Stay with me," I whispered, tears burning my eyes. "Please." She smiled, faint but real. "I'm trying," she said, her voice a thread. Seraphine's breathing steadied, but her eyes were distant, her body frail. I stayed by her side, holding her hand, whispering promises I wasn't sure I could keep. The house felt alive, its walls humming with the remnants of her magic, as if it too was fighting to hold her here. By morning she was sitting up, sipping tea I'd made, her color returning. "You shouldn't have stayed," she said, but her hand tightened on mine, grateful. "I'm not going anywhere," I said, and she smiled, a real smile that lit up my world. We knew Miranda would return. Seraphine's past was a debt unpaid, a shadow that would never fully fade. But we had time and we used it. She taught me more, how to feel the earth's pulse, how to shield my heart. I taught her to trust again, to believe in a future we could build together. We were 2 women, flawed and fierce, carving out a space in a world that didn't always understand us. The town noticed. Whispers turned to stares, then to hesitant acceptance. Mrs. Carter at the library asked about Seraphine, her tone curious, not cruel. We didn't flaunt our love, but we didn't hide it either. Willow Creek was changing slowly, and so were we. One night, under a full moon, Seraphine took me to her garden. She'd dismantled the stone circle, replacing it with a bed of lavender. "For us," she said, her voice steady. "A new start." I kissed her, soft and sure under the stars. "For us," I echoed. Miranda came back months later, but we were ready. Seraphine's magic was stronger now, bolstered by love by me. The fight was brutal, light and shadow clashing, but we stood together unyielding. When it ended, Miranda was gone, not dead, but broken, her power diminished. Seraphine collapsed into my arms, exhausted but whole. We didn't win because of magic alone. We won because we chose each other, every day, despite the fear, the doubt, the world's judgment. Love wasn't a spell. It was a choice, a promise we kept. Years later, we still live in the Hawthorne house, its windows bright, its garden blooming. Seraphine teaches me spells, I teach her to bake. We laugh, we fight, we heal. The town calls us the library witch and her wife, and we let them. It's not a curse, it's a badge of who we are. Every harvest moon festival we dance under the stars, remembering that first night when a melancholy sorceress stirred my heart. I couldn't escape her, and I never wanted to. Our love is our magic, and it's enough. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.